The age of fear is here, and many people are already enraged when it comes to the unlock method for Angel. Now, I'm a free to play player, and what we need to keep in mind on the free to play side is the advantage we're going to have is preparation, survival, and build. That's the method, that's the focus. How can we do that with what's going on? Are there concerns? Yes, but what do we actually need to be concerned about? How will that prevent us from getting ahead? We have to think about what it is we can control and then how can we leverage that power. For example, Annihilus is the strongest character in the game, period. However, as the brand new mythic character, he will not be available free to play for perhaps 6 months, a year, or more, depending on our playstyle. We can begin to control that, but it's going to take quite some time before we can get this character. The second strongest character in the game is the Maestro. He's going to be the reward for a upcoming battle world. But again, that's not something that's happening right now. We can't control that. We know that the Daring Warriors will help in that unlock, but this isn't something we can control. We can't get a hold of him right now. So all we can do is prepare, think about what to do, and wait till that opportunity arises. Silver Surfer Breaker is the third strongest character in the game, and this is 100% under our control. Even I was able to get him on my new player account that's only a couple months old. The requirements are not difficult. He's a plug and play character. He's the first legendary of the series, and typically the first legendary of the series is the strongest. So right now, we should be focused on what can I do to get this character? How can I tweak my teams in order to do that? Angel and the Exalted X-Men will help us to do that. But again, if we're free to play players, it's going to be a while before we unlock this character. And when we do, it's going to be at a 2-star unlock. The concern I hear in the community is, will we be able to get him up to 7 yellow stars? Will we be able to get him up to 7 red stars? And I'm going to say that although I don't know, there's no reason why we would think that that will not be the case. If we look at Angel's tags, there's nothing special there, right? Usually there are special characters, maybe they're epic characters and they're vaulted, so to speak, right? They show up. We can't get them again for another length of undetermined time. Angel does not have one of those tags. So it doesn't seem like he will be one of those characters. Either way, it's something outside of our control. So either we will be able to or we won't. I'm just going to operate on the premise that we will. But again, when we're talking about free to play, it's going to be about 6 months before we would max him out. There will be a farming period in between now and then that should take place just like any other character. The difference is going to be the concerns that I have to do with, are we building properly and will we do something to damage the progress of our account? Now, this is just my opinion, but this is some of the traps and pitfalls that some of us as players have fallen into, and this is what can cause problems. So Angel is a member of the Exalted X-Men, and once he's available, that team will begin to function. We need 4 members typically now to get the functionality out of the team. So if people that bought him probably already experimenting with them, we're going to find out more as the Crucible season continues. But as we unlock him free to play, notice again, we have other teams that we're looking at here: the Shadow Conclave, Exalted X-Men, the Omen team. And by the time the Exalted X-Men come out, Scopely should probably be announcing what the next team is after that. The confusion that happens sometimes is we're not sure where we are in the build order, in the build priority. Free to play players are looking at the newer teams as they're being showcased on social media. And so sometimes we start to build those newer teams instead of working on the team that we're assigned. The next team that should come out free to play is the Shadow Conclave. But again, when we get Angel, these 3 teams and more will be available. And again, sometimes people, I'll build this here, I'll build that here, I'll start preparing these rubrics here, and we can end up literally with 3 or 4 half-built teams and not a single team that can actually do anything. In the past, what that's led rise to is people complaining that teams are coming out too fast, teams are coming out too quickly. And we recognize that that's not something that is the case. The cadence, the release of the teams have been the same for quite some time. The thing that has changed is the flow of information. And since we're getting information faster, sometimes people are unsure where they are in their build, and we believe that we have to build everything that we see. Again, I think a pitfall here is the Omen team. The Omen team, we're not sure if they're going to be required for anything, But right now, as free-to-play players, I wouldn't invest in them. We only can build 5 characters a month. So when the Shadow Conclave starts to hit, that's the team we probably should be focused on. So once that angel is built to 7 yellow stars, we also need to make sure we get these 7 red stars that will unlock our ability to use diamonds. And so that's where probably the next phase of confusion, I'm assuming, is going to come into play. That is something that can be vaulted, so to speak. They could say, well, we sold his red stars as exclusive, so they could hold on to them probably for the duration of that entire 6-month period, and then let us have them at the end. What we would then have to do is build the character from the ground up, 1 red star at a time, because he won't be in the orbs, at least not in a traditional sense. So if we look at some of the older characters here that I have on the roster, right, we would have to build them 1 step at a time, 1 red star here, 1 red star there, and it's fine. We have plenty of currency. We would just need to look out for it in order to make it happen. The part that could cause confusion is if he pops up here in the chapter store. There's currency involved, and sometimes that's where a source of confusion is. Once again, we're looking at Professor X. I know he's a different character, right? He's a mythic character. We can't get his red stars in a traditional sense, so he's very expensive. But even if that's not the case, even if the character is a lot cheaper, by buying the red stars out of the chapter store, we have to remember we're taking them out of our current pool of currency that we have. And there's a limited amount of that. I'm not saying it's not something we wouldn't do. Just when it happens, we want to be mindful of what actually is the price. How often is he going to show up? What's it going to cost total for me to start buying him at 1 star all the way up to 7? These are just things we need to keep in mind so we don't run out of resources, which is a danger when we're playing free to play. If we're wondering how effective our 2-star characters are going to be, that's something that we're going to have to see when it happens. It appears that so far, every character coming forward is going to be a 45 shard unlock or a 2-star unlock. So again, as we look at the Shadow Conclave, we see 3 of their members here are 45 shards. Once again, that is a 2-star unlock once they enter the game free to play. So just by way of illustration, let's just take a look at this offer here for the Executioner. It's $20 and we would unlock the character. Again, that would be a 2-star unlock. But when the initial pricing was available for about that same price, from $20 to $25, you'd be able to get the 3-star version of the character. So since we're unlocking the character free to play at 2 stars, that gives the spending community a little bit of advantage. So generally speaking, my free to play character comes in at 2 stars. The earliest spending level comes in at 3 stars. And obviously you can go up from there. For me to close the gap as a free to play player, right, I'm going to have to wait till the character is farmable. In addition, the spenders, they're also, right, depending on what they spent, they're also going to be farming those characters, but we can begin to close the gap. To help understand what I mean, we're going to take a look here at the Immortal Weapons. The Immortal Weapons were the team previous that were farmable, right? Right now, the new Mutants are the team that's farmable. Before them was the Immortal Weapons. And we look at our Immortal Weapons team here, we have diamonds on them. That means, again, we're free to play. We were able to farm all those characters up. We start rolling for diamonds. We start activating diamonds in other ways. So it took us a while, but we're caught up in one sense of the word that we have the diamonds. Now, there also still does appear to be a little bit of a gap in progress. What are the things that are available to us? Well, we could take our characters to level 105, free to play, it appears. 110 is a spending milestone. And so there will be a difference in power between those two things. I have characters here at gear tier 19 and I have characters at gear tier 20. Gear tier 21 is also available. We're still not sure what the economy supports. We know we can get people to 19. We know we can get some people to 20. I'm trying to see how reasonable that is. But again, there will more than likely still be a little bit of a bracket in between those two things. So there still will be a spender version of a character as well as a free to play version of the character. But if we're able to close that gap somewhat, it's less than it normally would be. So let's turn our attention to who's coming out right now free to play, and that's the new Mutants. Notice the different amount of character shards that I have. Now, Magic, not really into building Magic, so we didn't. Okay, so we didn't. I'm not telling you what to do. She's just not for me. Wolfsbane, no, we have maxed out. Why? Because Wolfsbane is the person that was available in the Spotlight Raid orbs. Sunspot is a reworked character, same as Magic, so it didn't take much, if anything, to get him up to date. Magic either, right? I didn't build her, but as you see, we have the character shards. And that just leaves the other two newer members, Warlock and Cannonball. Now, it's going to come down to how you play regarding how quickly or which of those characters you can build up first. Warlock is available on a node. So we see Warlock here is at Nexus 1-9. He gives 4 shards when he drops. So typically for me, I find that between 8 and 12 is the amount of Warlock shards I get every day. And so because of that, I have more Warlock shards than Cannonball. See, if I was able to go to the store every day, because Cannonball is available in the store. So if I was able to go to the store and use my shop credits on him at every reset, that's a guaranteed 15 shards per day, which is higher than what I would get for the Warlock. But perhaps you're like me, I can't guarantee that I can be online every day at the different store resets. I usually can only get 1 or 2 depending on what's going on. So it's just going to be a slower pace for me, the way I play the game regarding Cannonball. Now, the reason why this is important that we're talking about this is I don't see Angel being any different. Why would he be different than what we already have been doing as far as Marvel Strike Force goes? I know characters are kind of coming through a little bit different, but I really wouldn't expect anything different. There will be some type of a standard release cadence, and if there's not, oh well, we just move on to the next character. I know there's a lot of confusion regarding the Exalted X-Men and how their release is going to come to the game, but all we can do is kind of look and see, well, have they done something like this before? Is there anything that looks relatively similar? And the last team that was sort of made up in that fashion is the Winter Guard. So we have Darkstar and Ursa Major. They have not yet been put into proper farmability. They're available in the chapter store, but they're not yet in normal farmability. So when we see how they handle that, perhaps it gives us an idea of what might happen when it comes to the Exalted X-Men. Again, we don't know exactly, but again, this is how we go, right? We want to look for parallels. We want to look for things that match. Maybe it gives us a clue into how we will handle the situation. Again, the other things I would be worried about when it comes to the Exalted X-Men isn't necessarily how we're going to get Angel. We don't have a control over that. It'll happen the way it happens. When we unlock him in the past, once again, we're able to activate this team. So when that occurs, we just want to be careful of where we spend our resources. We can't build 2 teams at once. It'll be about, later on in the month when it happens for us free to play. We'll see how far we are with the Shadow Conclave at that time, but just be careful not to overextend ourselves regarding our resources. There's only so many characters that you can build at once. And if there is something to kind of be concerned or worry about, so to speak, we'll look at Morph there. He still has that 100 shard unlock next to his name. So is he going to be, again, a 2-star? Is he going to be a 3-star? Is there going to be something different about this character? I wouldn't get overly concerned about it because we don't know. It's just if we're wondering about something, right, be envisioning that. It's important to keep a head on our shoulders. Let's try not to get wrapped up in what's going on. It takes away from what we're trying to do. There's a Bible proverb that says not to be quickly shaken from your reason. What does that mean? Well, a lot of times things get out of hand. People get panicky, anxiety, right? There's stuff going on around us and we lose our focus as to what we're supposed to be able to do. You got to keep your wits about you, so to speak. So when it comes to the Exalted X-Men, if we're playing free to play, am I ready to build the team when Angel becomes available, right? So do I have my Wolverine? If we're a newer player just playing the game, they give you Wolverine for free every day by doing your dailies. So just make sure we're doing our dailies and play the game. Storm Mighty, she's available in the Mighty Tower. I haven't got her on my new player account, but that time will come. We'll just continue to slowly build our roster and do what we can. So Jubilee requires Tech Hero or Pym Tech characters. Night Thrasher counts. So as we build up our Daring Warriors, the stronger he is, the easier it's going to be to get her unlocked. Same is true of Moon Girl on the Champions. As we get her stars up, we'll be able to get a higher Jubilee. Just something to keep in mind if we don't have that character unlocked already and we don't want to build other characters. Angel will find his way to us in time. The only one I would be thinking about is Morph. Under Morph's name, it still says that he's a 100 shard unlock. So is his unlock method going to be different, or have they simply not changed the number yet like they did with the other characters. It's something we can't control, but it is something to keep in mind. So when it comes to Angel, don't let the negativity get in your head. I'm playing for free, and since the gap between free and paid is $80, hey, it just helps me to make my decision, right? I'm not the type of individual to pay the 80, so we'll just worry about what I can do for free. For free, he's going to come to me at the end of the pass. It's going to be fine. That team will be active. And then we'll see who should I be building at that time. Are we still working on the Shadow Conclave, or will it be time to switch over to the Exalted X-Men? In conclusion, we have another very important point that I want you to think about. Over the course of time during the age of Annihilus, a lot of the content was sim and auto. A lot of us forgot how to actually play the game. We're not familiar with the characters' kits. We don't know what they do. It's very interesting that now that we've gotten a hold of the Daring Warriors and we're able to use them effectively, maybe the team isn't so bad, especially in the hands of the player. The same is true of the champions. Most of us might not know that if I use, let's say, Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur and I put slows out there, when I take my next turn with Kid Nova, not using his ultimate, but using his special, anybody I hit who has slow gets ability blocked. That's a big deal. You can lock down 3 members of the team that way and then deal with the rest. Again, if we're just always just pushing our ultimate or whatever the biggest thing is and not understanding how the team works, that kind of puts us at a disadvantage. That's how the computer is going to play. But now the teams are being built that if they're in the hands of the player, they actually work a lot better. Angel, for example, this is supposed to be a Cosmic Crucible offense team, but people are going to put him on defense, right? They're going to put him on defense. If you find an Angel on defense, no matter how big he is, you ability block him. If you ability block him, he has to use his basic. If he uses his basic, his vitality mechanic goes away. If his vitality mechanic goes away, so does his healing, so does the damage reduction. He can't flip buffs. He can't give defense up and things like that to the team. It's just something to keep in mind. So as we go forward, try not to think that things are so bleak or things are so bad, especially if we're playing on the free-to-play side. Our leverage is going to be in our participation and then doing our best to simply understand how the characters work or how a team is built and what purpose that it's for. That's something that's been built into the last couple of teams so far, and that's something we can leverage and we will have to use for our advantage. Let me know what you think about what we're saying in the comments below. I know there's a lot going on, but hey, man, I think it's going to be fine. If you haven't seen this video right here, please check it out. It's legit.